13 Black R&B legends who hid they were gay until the day they died. What if the voices that defined an era, the hits that made millions fall in love, hid a truth no one could see? These 13 Black R&B legends lived in the spotlight, yet carried secrets about their identities until the very end. From electrifying performances to unforgettable ballads, their brilliance masked personal struggles that could have shattered careers. Ready to uncover the hidden lives behind the music you thought you knew? Hit that like button, subscribe, and join Black Excellence Legends as we reveal the untold stories that challenge everything you think you know about your favorite icons. Nona Hendryx. Nona Hendryx, a powerhouse of innovation and boldness, has always been recognized for her commanding presence in the R&B and funk scene. Yet behind her dazzling performances lay a life marked by discretion and quiet defiance. Rising to fame as part of the groundbreaking group LaBelle, she captivated audiences with her vocal range, theatrical flair, and audacious style. Songs like Lady Marmalade made her a symbol of female empowerment, but few knew that her personal life carried a private narrative that contradicted the public image. Throughout her career, Hendryx faced the challenge of navigating an industry that often demanded conformity while she quietly explored her true self. Rumors circulated about her relationships with women, whispered backstage and shared in hushed tones among insiders, yet she rarely confirmed anything publicly. Instead, her music became a canvas where she could channel her innermost feelings, giving voice to experiences she could not openly claim. Each performance carried subtle signals, hints of vulnerability and authenticity that those attuned to her artistry could perceive. Her courage was evident not only in her sound, but also in her constant experimentation, blending funk, rock, and soul in ways that challenged conventional boundaries. Hendrix's creativity reflected a desire to live fully, even if societal constraints forced her to conceal aspects of her identity. Only decades later, long after her peak fame, did she begin to speak more openly about her love for women, affirming what had been whispered for years. Nona Hendryx exemplifies the duality experienced by many Black artists, thriving in the spotlight while negotiating deeply personal truths behind the scenes. Her life reminds us that artistry is not only about entertainment, but also a subtle rebellion, a way to live authentically even when the world is not ready to accept it. Hendrix's legacy continues to inspire generations, proving that innovation, strength, and courage can coexist with secrecy and resilience. Billy Preston. Billy Preston, often hailed as the fifth Beatle, was more than just a prodigious keyboardist. He was a musical visionary whose artistry bridged gospel, soul, funk, and rock. Known for his electrifying stage presence and unmatched virtuosity, Preston's fingers could transform a simple chord into a symphony that captivated audiences worldwide. Yet behind the energy and smiles, he harbored a private life that remained largely unknown to the public. Throughout his career, Preston collaborated with some of the most legendary figures in music, from Ray Charles to the Rolling Stones, leaving a mark on countless timeless recordings. While fans celebrated his contributions, whispers circulated about aspects of his personal identity that he chose not to disclose. In an era where societal norms often punish deviation from expected behaviors, Preston guarded his private life fiercely, sharing his true self only with trusted friends and confidants. His discretion was not silence born of shame, but a shield, protecting both his career and the delicate ecosystem of relationships he valued. Even as his music radiated freedom, joy, and creativity, Preston's personal experiences hinted at struggles that remained hidden from the spotlight. His ability to channel raw emotion into his performances offered glimpses of authenticity, yet the public could only speculate about the full depth of his inner world. Later in life, as societal attitudes shifted, he became more candid with those close to him, but the broader narrative of his personal truth largely remained a private journey. Billy Preston's legacy reminds us that brilliance in art often coexists with hidden layers of life. He shaped the sound of generations, yet his personal story reflects the complexity of living authentically in a world that demanded both conformity and spectacle. In the rhythm, the harmony, and the soul of his music, listeners can sense not only talent, but also the subtle echoes of a life lived between the stage and the secrets he carried. Proof that genius and privacy can intertwine, leaving a lasting impression that transcends time. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, a voice of elegance and soul, carved her niche in the R&B scene through tender ballads and an understated charisma that drew listeners close. Her singing style, smooth, emotionally resonant, and meticulously controlled, was a reflection of a heart that both yearned for connection and bore private burdens. While fans admired her onstage charm, behind the spotlight, Hyman navigated a world of secrecy and introspection. Throughout her career, Hyman faced the delicate challenge of reconciling public expectations with personal truths. Rumors suggested that she harbored romantic affections for a female friend. A whisper circulated quietly among colleagues, yet never publicly acknowledged. In a time when Black women in the music industry were scrutinized and boxed into conventional narratives, Phyllis preserved her dignity by shielding the private aspects of her life. Her discretion allowed her to maintain a career of artistic integrity while keeping her personal world intact. Hyman's music became a channel for emotional authenticity, often hinting at longing, vulnerability, and love that could not be openly claimed. Each lyric, each note carried a subtle resonance, revealing glimpses of her inner world without explicit disclosure. The bittersweet tones in songs like "You Know How to Love Me" allowed her audience to feel the depth of feeling, yet the full story remained solely hers. Her life illustrates the complex navigation required of Black artists, balancing fame and private identity. By choosing silence, Hyman transformed restraint into a poetic element of her artistry, creating a tension between public persona and personal reality. Today, her legacy continues to influence artists seeking to express themselves authentically while managing societal pressures. Phyllis Hyman remains a testament to the power of subtlety, resilience, and musical intimacy, a figure who taught that profound artistry often grows alongside private endurance, leaving echoes of beauty and contemplation long after the final note fades. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross, the iconic voice of R&B, was synonymous with romance, sophistication, and emotional depth. His silky vocals and masterful delivery turned every love song into an intimate confession, captivating millions of listeners worldwide. Yet behind the charm and stage presence, Vandross carried a private truth that remained hidden from the public. A truth that, if revealed, could have reshaped the perception of the beloved superstar. Throughout his career, Vandross achieved legendary status with hits like "Never Too Much" and "Here and Now." Yet his personal life remained shrouded in discretion. Close friends recall his deep concern for protecting his mother, preserving the adoration of his predominantly female fan base, and maintaining the flawless image crafted by the media. For Vandross, silence was a choice of self-preservation, a shield against societal pressures and the intense scrutiny of an era that was often unaccepting of deviation from traditional norms. The complexity of his life extended beyond career considerations. Vandross once confided to a trusted friend about his romantic interests in men, but public acknowledgement was unthinkable. Even in moments of vulnerability, he exhibited restraint, allowing his music to speak for the emotions he could not openly share. Each lyric, each note, became a vessel for feelings both universal and deeply personal, conveying longing, passion, and intimacy without exposing the intricacies of his private life. Vandross's story is one of duality, an artist whose external brilliance contrasted with an internal world filled with secrets and careful discretion. His ability to inspire love through song while navigating a life of hidden truths reflects both the triumphs and struggles of Black artists in R&B during the late 20th century. Today, his voice continues to resonate as a symbol of unparalleled talent and enduring legacy, reminding us that even the most celebrated figures can harbor profound stories of resilience, love, and secrecy behind the spotlight. Little Richard. Little Richard, the explosive architect of rock and roll, was a performer whose presence on stage could ignite the world. With towering hair, audacious makeup, and flamboyant costumes, he challenged conventional expectations and transformed music with his boundless energy. Yet beyond the dazzling exterior, Richard carried a private complexity, a flame of identity that was both brilliant and conflicted, constrained by societal norms and personal fears. Born and raised in Georgia, Little Richard grew up in a strict church environment, where his uniqueness often clashed with traditional expectations. His youth was marked by a constant negotiation between personal desires and external pressures. While the public celebrated his audacious performances and pioneering sound, Richard struggled to reconcile his sexuality with the rigid norms of the time. He openly described himself as omnisexual in a 1995 interview, only to later retract, reflecting the tension between self-expression and public perception. Richard's musical innovation was inseparable from his personal journey. His gospel and soul roots infused every note with passion, yet his stage persona allowed him to play with gender, flamboyance, and societal boundaries without fully exposing his private life. Colleagues and friends recall his inner conflict, his fear of judgment, and his carefully managed public image. Despite these constraints, he inspired generations of artists, including Prince, David Bowie, and countless R&B performers, who drew courage from his audacity to confront the forbidden, even when he could not fully claim it himself. Little Richard's life embodies paradox: a man of flamboyant visibility and private restraint, a pioneer who reshaped music while navigating the shadows of societal expectation. His legacy is both musical and symbolic, illustrating the struggles and triumphs of an artist who dared to challenge norms while protecting the parts of himself that the world was not ready to embrace. Today, Richard stands as a testament to creativity, courage, and the intricate balance between public persona and private identity, leaving a mark that continues to influence music and culture. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, the soulful voice of Motown, was a master of passion and vulnerability. His music, characterized by sensuality, emotional intensity, and raw honesty, captivated millions, turning him into an icon whose songs spoke to the deepest desires of the human heart. Yet behind the public brilliance lay a life of private complexities, secrets, and inner turmoil that few truly understood. Gaye's artistry was inseparable from his personal struggles. Hits like "Let's Get It On" and "Sexual Healing" were celebrated worldwide, but they also masked a private life fraught with tension and unspoken desires. Rumors circulated about his affections toward men, including speculation about a special connection with Marlon Brando, though nothing was ever publicly confirmed. This ambiguity reflected both the pressures of his era and the protective measures he took to safeguard his career, reputation, and family relationships. Navigating the demanding Motown industry as a Black artist in a society often unaccepting of queer identities placed Gaye in a precarious position. He had to balance his authentic self with public expectations, producing music that celebrated love and intimacy without revealing the personal truths he held close. Friends and colleagues observed his private world as elusive, a stark contrast to the expressive vulnerability on stage. Each lyric, each note, carried layers of meaning, allowing listeners to interpret passion, longing, and connection, while the man behind the microphone remained partly hidden. Marvin Gaye's life was a study in duality, a man of immense talent, sensuality, and charisma, yet constrained by the cultural and societal limitations of his time. His legacy endures not only in the unforgettable music he created, but also in the quiet, unresolved mysteries of his personal life. Gaye reminds us that even icons who illuminate the world with their gifts may navigate profound inner struggles, and that the most intimate truths of a person's heart are not always visible to the public. Arthur Conley. Arthur Conley, the sweet soul singer of the 1960s, captivated audiences with his smooth voice and heartfelt performances. Best known for hits like Sweet Soul Music, Conley's artistry combined infectious energy with a tender vulnerability that made him a standout figure in the soul scene. Yet behind the soaring melodies and public acclaim was a private man, navigating desires and truths he could not openly reveal. Early in his career, Conley faced immense pressures as a Black artist in a music industry dominated by rigid expectations. The public wanted a charismatic, heterosexual performer whose songs celebrated romance within socially acceptable norms. But Arthur's personal life held a different reality. He was a gay man in an era when disclosure could have ended his career and brought scrutiny not only to him, but to his family. To preserve both his art and his safety, Conley chose discretion, carefully curating his public image while quietly pursuing a more authentic life in private. Eventually, Arthur made the courageous decision to leave the United States for Europe, seeking an environment more tolerant and open-minded. Adopting the name Lee Roberts, he found a space where he could live more freely, create music behind the scenes, and nurture his passions without the constant pressure of public judgment. Though this meant stepping away from the spotlight and the fame he could have enjoyed, it allowed him personal liberation, a chance to love openly and live honestly. Arthur Conley's story highlights the tension many artists faced between public expectation and private truth. While fans celebrated his music, few knew the sacrifices he made to protect himself and his loved ones. His legacy endures not only through timeless soul hits, but also as a reminder of the courage required to navigate identity and artistry in a world not always ready to accept difference. Conley's life illustrates that sometimes the greatest triumphs happen away from the stage, in the quiet pursuit of personal freedom and authenticity. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway, one of the most soulful voices of his generation, was a musician whose talent transcended mere performance. Known for classics like A Song for You and Someday We'll All Be Free, Hathaway's voice carried immense emotional weight, drawing listeners into a world of vulnerability, longing, and unspoken pain. Yet beyond the stage and studio, Donny grappled with personal struggles and secrets that remain largely hidden from public view. Hathaway's musical brilliance was paired with a sensitive, introspective nature. Friends and collaborators noticed his quiet moments of withdrawal, the anxiety that sometimes overtook him during sessions, and the profound inner life that he rarely shared. There were whispers of romantic affections toward men in his private life, but like many artists of his era, he maintained discretion, fearing the consequences that could come from societal prejudice and professional backlash. His silence was not avoidance, but a means of protection, both for himself and the people he loved. Despite these private struggles, Hathaway poured his emotions into his music. Every note, every lyric seemed to reflect the complexity of his inner world. His performances exuded a combination of raw passion and tender sensitivity, giving audiences a glimpse of feelings he could not openly express in his personal life. Hathaway's art became his sanctuary, a space where authenticity could exist in melody, even if unspoken in reality. Donny Hathaway's legacy is both musical and human. He left behind timeless recordings that continue to move hearts and inspire artists across generations. But his story also reminds us of the hidden battles that gifted individuals may face. Hathaway exemplifies the courage required to navigate a world that often demands conformity while carrying a private truth, highlighting the quiet heroism in creating beauty and meaning despite personal struggle. His life and work remain a testament to the depth of the soul, illustrating that true artistry is inseparable from the humanity behind it. Billy Paul. Billy Paul, the smooth voice of Philadelphia soul, enchanted audiences with his signature hit, Me and Mrs. Jones, and a series of other romantic ballads. Known for his emotional depth and dynamic performances, Paul's music captured the complexities of love, desire, and longing. Yet behind the polished stage persona was a private man whose heart and personal life were largely shrouded in secrecy. Throughout his career, whispers circulated about Paul's affections for men, though nothing was ever officially confirmed. He navigated an era when Black R&B artists faced intense scrutiny, and any deviation from expected norms could threaten their careers. For Paul, discretion was a shield, an essential strategy to maintain both his professional success and personal safety. Publicly, he remained the consummate performer, channeling emotions into music rather than into open declarations of love or identity. Billy Paul's artistry was characterized by its ability to convey intimacy and passion. His voice, velvet smooth yet powerful, hinted at unspoken stories, allowing listeners to feel the depth of emotion without ever knowing the full context. Through phrasing, tone, and delivery, Paul created a space where private truths could be expressed in sound, even if not in life. Music became his confessional, a sanctuary where he could explore feelings that the world might not have accepted. Paul's legacy is defined not only by timeless recordings, but also by his quiet courage. He demonstrated how an artist could maintain authenticity in art while safeguarding personal privacy in a society not ready to fully accept difference. Billy Paul remains an enduring symbol of soul music's capacity to communicate hidden truths, to stir empathy, and to illuminate the tension between public persona and private life. His story reminds us that the most profound emotions are often expressed in silence, through the language of music, leaving behind a lasting, poignant legacy that continues to resonate today. Johnny Mathis. Johnny Mathis, a tender balladeer of the 1950s and 1960s, earned admiration for his smooth voice, elegant style, and ability to convey deep emotion through romantic songs. Unlike flamboyant performers, Mathis relied on subtlety and intimacy, captivating audiences with soft, heartfelt melodies rather than dramatic stage antics. Yet behind the polished public image lay a private individual whose personal life remained largely undisclosed and the subject of speculation. During interviews and private conversations, Mathis occasionally hinted at a lifestyle that included same-sex affection. In 1982, he made a brief, surprising statement acknowledging that homosexuality was a way of life he had grown accustomed to, leaving listeners and journalists curious and uncertain. He did not expand on this publicly, nor did he confirm or deny anything further, choosing instead to retreat into silence. This discretion protected him from potential backlash in a time when public acknowledgement could damage an artist's career, especially for a Black musician in a conservative industry. Mathis's artistry was informed by the tension between public expectation and private reality. Each ballad he performed carried layers of meaning, allowing listeners to interpret the love and longing in his music, while remaining unaware of the personal truths behind it. His voice became a vessel for expression, translating unspoken emotions into melodies that resonated with intimacy and vulnerability. The subtlety of his performances allowed him to navigate societal pressures while maintaining authenticity in his craft. Johnny Mathis's legacy is one of quiet courage and enduring music. Though he never fully disclosed his private life, the ambiguity surrounding his identity adds depth to his artistry, inviting reflection on the challenges faced by artists compelled to conceal their true selves. Today, his recordings continue to charm listeners, revealing the power of gentle, expressive performance and the profound human complexity behind the music. Mathis demonstrates that even without public acknowledgement, one can leave an indelible mark on hearts and souls through the universal language of song. Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy Pendergrass, often hailed as the king of R&B love songs, mesmerized audiences with a voice that was both passionate and seductive. From his early days with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes to his solo career, Pendergrass became the embodiment of romance and sensuality, his performances igniting admiration from fans worldwide. Yet beneath the charismatic exterior lay a private man whose personal life remained largely hidden, giving rise to persistent rumors about same-sex relationships. At the height of his fame, Pendergrass faced intense scrutiny, and the pressures of maintaining a perfect public image were immense. In 1982, a devastating car accident left him partially paralyzed, forever altering the trajectory of his life and career. While many focused on the physical and emotional recovery, whispers about his private affairs intensified, reflecting society's fascination with the untold stories of stars. Pendergrass never publicly confirmed or denied these rumors, choosing instead to preserve his privacy and protect his dignity. His artistry was marked by the interplay of vulnerability and strength. Even from a wheelchair, Teddy continued to perform with a fiery intensity, channeling love, longing, and desire into every note. The contrast between his public persona as a powerful romantic icon and the private tensions of his heart gave his music a haunting depth. Fans were drawn not only to the warmth of his voice, but also to the unspoken complexity behind it, sensing emotions that transcended conventional narratives. Teddy Pendergrass's legacy endures through his timeless music and the quiet courage with which he navigated life's challenges. He exemplifies the delicate balance artists must strike between personal truth and public expectation, particularly in an era when society was less accepting. His story reminds listeners that the most profound expressions of love and longing can exist even in silence, and that sometimes the intensity of emotion conveyed through music surpasses what is ever spoken. Teddy remains an enduring symbol of passion, resilience, and the quiet struggles behind the spotlight. Keith Barrow. Keith Barrow, a gifted vocalist from Chicago, was a rising star in the 1970s disco and soul scene. Known for his honeyed tones and tender delivery, he quickly gained attention with songs like "You Know You Want to Be Loved" and "Turn Me Up." His music captured hearts, but behind the smooth exterior lay a private man grappling with an identity that the public never fully saw. Though admired as a romantic figure, Keith's true affections were a closely guarded secret, known only to family and a few trusted friends. In an era when societal and industry pressures forced Black artists to maintain strictly marketable images, Keith faced the challenge of presenting himself as a heterosexual heartthrob while hiding his authentic self. This discrepancy between public perception and private truth created constant tension. In studios and on tour, he longed to create songs that expressed his real emotions. Yet the music industry's rigid expectations made such honesty impossible. He navigated this delicate balance with quiet dignity, channeling feelings of love and longing into his melodies without ever revealing the full story behind them. Despite his brief career, Keith's impact on soul and disco was significant. His songs were infused with a sincerity that hinted at hidden depths, drawing listeners into a world of nuanced emotion. Yet the media largely ignored the personal struggles that informed his artistry, focusing instead on his promise and charm. Barrow's life ended far too early, leaving behind a legacy both luminous and enigmatic. Keith Barrow exemplifies the silent struggles faced by Black R&B artists in an unforgiving era. He reminds us that talent and passion often coexist with private battles that remain unseen. Through his music, he conveyed universal themes of love, desire, and vulnerability, creating art that resonated deeply even when his personal truths remained unspoken. Keith's story is a testament to resilience, artistry, and the hidden courage required to maintain authenticity in a world unprepared to accept it. Behind the dazzling lights and timeless hits, these 13 Black R&B legends carried secrets that the world never knew. From Luther Vandross's tender ballads to Little Richard's flamboyant stage persona, their music hid truths about love and identity that they could never fully reveal. Each note, each lyric, was a silent testament to their courage, resilience, and the heavy price of fame in a world not yet ready to accept them. Their legacies inspire awe, but also raise questions. Should personal truths have stayed hidden, or would honesty have changed the course of their lives and the industry forever?